Rishi Sunak has today called for restraint after Iran launched an unprecedented drone attack on Israel over the weekend.
Though the Middle East is thousands of miles away, it has a direct effect on our security and prosperity at home. So we are working urgently with our allies to de-escalate the situation and prevent further bloodshed. All sides must show restraint.
Well, the attack was largely unsuccessful, with American and British RAF jets scrambling to intercept and shoot down some of the 300 Iranian missiles bound for Israel. But the world could now be standing on the precipice of World War III after Israel has vowed to hit back at Iran. I'm joined now by the former Armed Forces Minister and outgoing Tory MP, James Heappey, who stood down from his role last month. James, look, thank you very, very much. I want to talk to you first about our preparedness for some major conflict. I see that the size of the UK Armed Forces shrunk by more than 7,000 personnel in a year. Damning figures for UK military recruitment, 54% giving up on the process, apparently. We've lowered the entry requirements. I mean, are we actually ready for anything?
Yeah, I mean, I think you have to make a distinction between are we ready to react to moments of geopolitical crisis that come along, such as what happened on the weekend. And we were. You know, we had Typhoon that were forward-based in Cyprus, Typhoon that were forward-based in Romania, as well as those that were at high readiness here in the UK and all of the supporting assets. And they were able to move forward and respond. So we've got to be careful not to paint too dim a picture. Where we need to start reinvesting is that in the Cold War, we had the capacity to do full-on state-on-state warfare. We had the plan for generating the follow-on forces that would be generated as a war went on. And we've kind of got out of the habit of making those plans.
Yeah, and I'm just hearing now that on the front of tomorrow's Daily Telegraph, which we'll be coming to a little bit, Ben Wallace is on there saying we must stand up to Iranian bullies. Now, that is a different tone to what our Prime Minister is saying. Ben Wallace, of course, stood down, very well-respected man. You are also a very well-respected man, and you stood down. Do you fundamentally disagree with the Prime Minister on serious matters involving our armed forces?
No, I don't think I disagree. In fact, I think that both Ben and the Prime Minister can be right in what they're saying at the same time. So I don't think that you want to encourage any sort of escalation, but you can stand up to the bully by saying that if you come at Israel again, we will continue to repel you. So I think there's a sort of, I don't necessarily think that Ben and the Prime Minister are making opposing arguments necessarily.
Did you ever have conversation with Rishi Sunak about the need for more funding for our armed forces?
Yes, I did.
How did they go?
Well, they were in the leadership election, and to be fair to him, he said he was not making the same commitment as Liz had made to us.
And was that wrong?
When we had stood. Yeah, it was. It was. I mean, I think that I've made no secret of this, that 2.5% of GDP on defence is needed right now. The consequence of inflationary pressures and whatever else has been going on over the last couple of years means that, the MOD is looking for savings at the moment when it really shouldn't be. I mean, it should be kind of looking at the very least, getting the force that we've got into the best possible fighting shape, not looking to reduce it any further. And actually, I think that what should also happen now is that a commitment is made to increase defence spending by the end of the decade to 3%. That would then allow people in the MOD to start designing a force that you could afford with that extra money.
Why do you think he didn't listen to you? What was it?
Well, I think when you are a Prime Minister, you have to make constant choices. And I've watched many hours of GBNews when my colleagues have sat here saying what the people want is tax cuts. I've also seen colleagues on TV saying what the people want is new schools in their constituencies or new hospitals. So I don't think, you've got to be careful not to sort of criticise people for making choices, especially when our own backbenchers are demanding so many different things.
None of those things matter, though, does it, if we have things like, a Royal Navy with ships that can't go to sea, or Trident missile failures, or an RAF saying that they don't want any more, useless white male pilots, but not actually being able to get enough recruits. And if we know all of this stuff, presumably countries like Russia and China know all of this stuff about us, and I think that is a concern, isn't it?
It is. And look, I would argue that the first priority for any government is the defence and security of the realm. And therefore, when it comes to a group of colleagues demanding tax cuts, a group of colleagues demanding more investment in the NHS, a group of colleagues demanding more investment everywhere else, that at a time like this, where the geostrategic trends are towards more instability and more insecurity, then the investment has to be in favour of defence.
Can I ask you a bit about that? Because, look, as it stands, Israel have said that they are going to hit back in some way. It remains to be seen what that is. How far should we go in support of Israel? There's calls of restraint. Israel needs to show restraint. If 300 missiles and drones had just been fired at England over the weekend, I don't think there would be that many calls in this country for a huge amount of restraint. Actually, what should we do to back Israel? If they decide to go massive in Iran, should we be there? Should we be putting troops on the ground with them? What should we do?
No, look, I think that is definitely not what we should be saying up front. I think what last week showed was a combination of very capable intelligence agencies got ahead of whatever the Iranians were planning. And there was a reinforcement of the region led by the US Central Command that a number of allies subscribed to. And the consequence was that what could have been a sort of Pearl Harbor type moment was 99% repelled. And as a consequence, gives Israel the opportunity to not respond and escalate. Now, Israel may still choose to do so. I think the UK should be absolutely clear in our resolve to continue to be willing to defend Israel from these attacks. I also think I suspect your audience has less mixed views on this than some other broadcasters, but I think you can make a distinction between what you think of Israel's actions in Gaza and what you think is right in terms of defending Israel from a hostile state in a direct state-on-state attack. There's no way in the world, Patrick, that we want to choose a course of action that probably leads to war. Always our priority must be to try and
So you support them in defensive action, less so in offensive action?
Yeah, I think your question was, should we be making a commitment to go with the Israelis? I mean, I don't think we should.
OK, James, thank you very much. Pleasure to have you on the show.
My pleasure.
Hope to talk to you again very, very soon.